I'm sorry, everyone. There was a bit of a hiccup there. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm Shamila Ramjawan, your host on the Red Corner Show. I'm an associate dean at LSI Business School in Cambodia, a global managing director for Ladies of All Nations International Africa, and the South Africa chairperson and national president of the International Youth Society. Today, we have a very pertinent topic that we will be discussing, and that is the dreaded six-letter word, cancer, which has a very big impact on lives. According to the World Health Organization, breast cancer is the second most common cancer in the world and the most common cancer in women worldwide, accounting for 25% of all incident cases of female cancers.
I've got no sound.
Is there no sound? Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I just heard somebody say there was no sound. Can I please ask you to mute yourselves? Thank you. Join us today in this discussion as we rise together to uplift women, men, and children as we create awareness around cancer. My guests today are all cancer survivors who have overcome the challenges of their fight against cancer. They are Sharon Govender from South Africa, Joe Wiehler from Italy, Kammy Thambirayan from South Africa, and Fabian Adonis from South Africa. We're going to start off the chat today with Sharon. Sharon, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Shamila. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you well, and you look absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. And of course, so do you and the rest of this amazing people. It's such a privilege to join and be part of this. And I want to thank you at the outset. You're such an amazing person. Reading on your profile, it just inspires me to just share a platform with you. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad to have people like you that have come on board to share your journeys. And we know it's so stressful to actually go through something like cancer. We see it every day with our friends and families, and we know the suffering that everyone goes through, including the families. And I welcome you to the show, and I'm looking forward to listening to you and the rest of the guests tonight. I'm crossing over from Cambodia. So in Cambodia, it's just after 7 p.m. And I know in South Africa, it's just after 2 p.m.
That's right.
Yes. So Sharon, just to start off, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Shamila, essentially, I'm a psychologist working. I previously worked in government for a very, very long time, and it was a tremendously stimulating. No 2 days are the same. Working as a health professional in a non-health professional sector, education. Unfortunately, due to some set of circumstances, COVID and the cancer, I had to choose the one-dimensional sort of setup of going into private practice. And I do also, I do motivational work and the like. And I must say, every day is a different day, and you grow in different ways as a professional, as a person, and the cancer journey certainly contributed towards that.
I can imagine. So Sharon, please tell us, when were you diagnosed? How did you get the diagnosis? Just take us through a little bit about your journey.
Okay, Shamila, suffice to say that it started with a bit of dramatic irony, I would call it, because I hosted in December 2015, I hosted a Christmas book club that we themed breast cancer awareness.
Wow.
Little did I realize that 2 weeks later, I would have that diagnosis. And what was interesting was at this book club, a lady that I met for the first time, she came to the book club and she shared her story, which is quite a remarkable one, that she was diagnosed just after she had a second child at 30 something. So I was quite taken aback by the story. And then she said to us, and she was quite an amazing person, and she pushed out her chest and she said, well, look at these. And she pointed to her breasts and she said, well, look at these, they never sag and they're never out of shape because I've got implants. And that was for me amazing. And I reached out also quite naughtily and I said, may I touch them? And I reached out and touched her. And that was my first touch and brush with cancer.
Wow.
And it was the universe preparing me for this journey. And yeah. And, Shamila, so it started like that. And then, well, the nitty gritty essentially is not important. I don't want to go into the detail, but by February of that year, in 1 week, I had 3 surgeries and there was some botched stuff that happened. But here I am, it's 2022. And the whole journey of the breast cancer in August after chemo and the ops, I decided I would celebrate that. I joined a friend and I did Florence and toured the winelands and had the most amazing experience. And I thought, well, dust off, you're done with cancer. Well, the universe thought otherwise. And in 2020, shortly before the COVID pandemic, well, there it was again. And yes, so my second brush, of course, I think psychologically it's a bit of it's a massive shake up too, because you think I'm done and then you're not. And so the second time was harder because post my surgeries, smack in the middle of the level 5 lockdown, a week later to be precise, off I had to go have radiation treatment while we were on level 5 lockdown. Gosh. And honestly, I feel a little bit of a fraud. It sounds so much more scarier because I think many people's journeys have been much more painful. But I think we all have learned that each of our stories deserves to be told. And so mine, I'm grateful for the fact that I had the cancer twice and I had COVID once. So after the COVID and the 2 cancers, I thought, well, 3 brushes with the letter C of the alphabet. I think I'm ready for the whole damn alphabet.
Yes, I can imagine. But Sharon, just to take you back a little bit, the first time that you were diagnosed, what happened? How did you know that you had cancer?
Well, that too is fraught with some weird twists and turns because, I still get a lump in my throat to tell the story, but I lost my mum in 2014, a year before the diagnosis. And the day of the funeral was the day I was supposed to go and have my mammo. And well, of course, I didn't get to it. And a year later, I thought, don't you think it's time to do this, girl? And so off I went. And unfortunately, I've never, prior to that, not even a 45th cousin or an aunt or a family member or even a close friend, had I ever known to have had cancer and the journey. So I went in quite, I think with a measure of like a blasé attitude, went off to do the mammogram and came back with the diagnosis. Oh, and it is an important question that you asked, Shamila, because for everyone out there who thought like me, no, we don't have genetic history. But then if you don't have genetic history, because we all have cancer cells, what precipitated and brought on the cancer? And I think that for me is is something, I think, a series of stresses. So if you don't have a genetic predisposition, maybe there might have been stressful events that build up to making you more vulnerable to being diagnosed. And for me, the one particular event that stood out, of course, my mum, losing my mum the year before added to my sense of being rudderless. But the year before that in East London, I was the victim of a quite frightening robbery. I literally was naked in my bathroom, you know, and I was taken out of my bathroom. And I think the range of emotions that came with it, and you know, all the stuff that happens where you really, really think, this is it. This is the moment, and I'm leaving this earth, you know. And yeah, and it was this robber. There were 3 of them. They got into the house. It was Friday early in the morning, dragged me out of my bathroom. And you know what there was much gratitude afterwards. Yes, all of that happened, but they didn't physically, he threatened to rape me a few times. He didn't. They threatened to kill. They didn't. They just took all the material. But I think it left a bigger impact on me because being a mental health person, I didn't give enough respect to going and seeking help outside of. I thought I had the skills within me.
Yes.
And I think so. I'm saying that even if you don't have a predisposition genetically, you could have many stressful things that we imbibe and we keep within us. And we think, no, I've got this. And we don't always have it. Yeah. And so, yeah. And so 2 years post all those little stressful things, I had a diagnosis, and the doctor said to me, she said, yeah, you literally, you know, you don't have any genetic history, but some stressful event might have been the precipitating factor.
Really? Oh my goodness. You know, we always hear new things about, you know, how cancer starts, and we always think it's genetic. But, you know, it's so good that we can hear different views, and we know that people out there should actually listen to stories like this and take extra care of themselves as well. But Sharon, I just, sorry, there's so many questions I want to ask you. There's so many questions just flashing through my mind right now. But I mean, what were your thoughts when you got your first results? You know, and who did you share this news with?
So when I got the diagnosis, I think when you sit across a table and your GP looks as terrified as you are, and you are literally, you have no idea how to process, and you need to have somebody with you. And I was lucky because, you know, my husband is not much of a sayer, but more of a doer. And, you know, he was quite incredible because he was with me, and we both broke down crying, and then we came home, and we realized we're now in uncharted territory. What do we do? Do we call I've got 3 sons, 2 of them young adults, and a teenager in matric this year. And at the time, he was quite little. And what do you do with this now? And then that is where the planning of how to take this on. There is no blueprint. Yes. And what I decided was that I have no control over this terrifying thing, but I'm going to gather a team. I'm going to gather my running team. And they each are going to be with me. And I didn't consciously say, who shall I? But as I engaged with people, I realized, I want you by my side. You make me feel that this is going to be okay. And that is what I think is important as well. If you surrender in a negative way to this dread disease, it's dreadful, it's intimidating, and you can succumb.
Absolutely. And, I think it's so important to have a support structure. I think about the people that don't have anybody to actually lean on.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's also personality. I think sometimes we think we have the strength and we want the privacy of doing this. But honestly, I think for me, the privacy of taking this journey in a private way is the opposite, far outweighs it, because someone somewhere will give you a word of wisdom, a moment of strength that you need from the most unexpected quarters. But if you take it on alone, it's you with your little family, and whether you have the cancer, your family is as much victims of this disease as you are. They are even more needy than you might be. And
Yes.
therefore it's important. So that is what I mean when I say, with care, allow people to walk with you, because
Yes.
they will give you strength at the most unexpected times.
For sure. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with the rest of the world as well, because you have no idea who you will be impacting somewhere in the world. Um, your treatment, what was your treatment like? Just tell us some of your treatment.
So Shamila, the first time was the chemotherapy, and I think when you speak about treatment, it's also important for me to share that the difficulty of the cancer journey is also all the other stuff, the medical aids and the financial stresses that come in. And one of the big things was I was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer called the HER2 positive. You get the triple negative, and then you get the estrogen positive. I had the HER2 positive, and it's quite an aggressive type of cancer. And I was so blessed because not much earlier than that, they'd started to do biological treatment, drug treatment, targeted therapy. So the treatment protocol that was decided for me was a combination of chemotherapy with targeted biological drugs called the Herceptin. The challenge, of course, came with the fact that it was 25,000 rands a shot. And of course, my medical aid said, sorry, we're not doing this. And yes. And then it became a huge fight with the medical aid, back paying medical aid subscriptions, going on to the highest options. And then finally the medical aid said, yes, they will pay. And then I started, so it was 3 months of chemotherapy and then 18 months of Herceptin, which was a drug that at the time when I had it in 2016 into 2017, you would go in and you would be put on a drip, and you would go to oncology and you would have your treatment. And it comes with the usual, the chemotherapy is vicious. And there's so much of fear that you associate with the chemotherapy. And I remember I was so afraid on the first day. And I just got a phone call from someone, an old friend who'd heard, and I hadn't spoken to in more than 15 years, a male. And he phoned and he said, I heard, and I said, oh, I'm going for my first chemo. I'm so scared. I heard it does this and that. And he said to me, hold on. You need to see that that's actually your friend. It's not the enemy. The cancer is the enemy. The chemotherapy is going to be giving you a chance to live. Sure. And when I embraced that thought, that was an important shift as well. And so that was my treatment protocol the first time. And then, of course, the surgery with the removal of the cancer. The second time in 2020, I had a 10-hour surgery and they had a radical mastectomy on the same side. The cancer recurred on the same left breast. And then the radiation treatment was during COVID and during the level 5. And now I go for maintenance because I'm not yet in remission.
My gosh. Oh my goodness. So how has your life changed since the treatment?
You
Or
know,
has
my
it changed?
yes, dramatically. There were positives and negatives in the weight, which it changed. But I think the negative was that, as I said to you at the beginning, Shamila, I was employed in the government sector, working in a spectrum of schools doing psychological services for the poorest of the poor, and then our more privileged schools, working with teachers and therapists and developing psychologists. It was very, very fulfilling. Unfortunately, with the second cancer, with COVID, I had to relinquish that, and that was what changed in my life, and I miss it dreadfully. I find my work is a little bit more one-dimensional at times. But the positives that came out was, interestingly, I grew as a health professional because prior to having cancer, I would call it a sense of I am a hardworking, skilled psychologist. And when I work with someone, I can change, I can develop them. And when I had the cancer, I realized it humbled me and it taught me that you cannot dare to think you know how someone feels if you've not walked in those shoes. So when I do bereavement counseling for a mum that's lost a child, or for a person that's lost a partner, or for a parasuicidal young girl, I realize that I've got to give that their pain respect to know that I can never really know. Tread softly around them. And I think I grew as a professional. The other really beautiful way that I think I grew is the world has just become a little brighter. I cannot look at a sunset and not take a photo and respect it. And my husband said to me, how many pictures can you take of a sunset? I said, there can never be more enough. So you live life more fully, more appreciatively. And I think my life, my family I've really valued them, and I've grown and become very close to them. And I believe in the authenticity of relationships even more than before the journey. And I just think everyone walks into our lives for a purpose. And cancer taught me that.
Absolutely. So Sharon, just in terms of your life as a psychologist, I know you would have taken it differently if it was not your profession, because you are trained to be a psychologist and use psychology on various people. And I'm sure with you going through this entire journey, you used some of that on yourself. What sort of advice or that you can give to other people just on support in terms of going through this journey? Just from a mind perspective.
Okay, I think it's very important that mentally, even if you have a stage 4 diagnosis, I think a person with the stage 4 diagnosis is fighting a mammoth, intimidating battle. And it is difficult to say, I hate the phrase, yes, I can, and please take it in the right spirit when I tell you the word warrior and survivor I found it had a connotation that gave me, as a cancer person, this elitist sort of position to say, you're a warrior and you're a survivor, because there are so many people. I can put the cancer out there and declare it for all to support. But other people with their own cancers, that might be intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, any other possible traumatic event that is so personal that they're unable to share, all the other warriors and the survivors. And so I've grappled with it And I've grown to understand why I can allow myself the right to say, I am a warrior. So I think approaching your cancer requires an interesting balance between realism and between realistic approach approaching it realistically and approaching it with some measure of positive attitude. And so I think important things is when you get a diagnosis is you take the driving seat. You ask the questions to your doctors. You compile a dossier. And things like medical bills are so intimidating that you need. My husband took charge of that. He had a file. He would file the medical bills. He would check that the codes were correct. He would check on claims, because medical aids will say they authorize treatment. And they authorized my treatment, and they paid for one surgery, they paid 300 Rand, and we paid 34,000. What did they authorize? So important in having a diagnosis is, even if you are too ill to take charge of it, have a trustworthy person that can be taking care of what's happening on the medical aid front, the financial front, your authorizations. Then when it comes to going for treatment, why go for treatment with just you and your husband or your partner or your son or your one person? Have a chance to have another person come along with you. They bring fresh energy when you go to chemotherapy. And when you finish chemotherapy, you feel pretty grotty within an hour. You know, you're ready to throw up, you can't hold food in. And what I used to do, I would say to my husband, I want to go to this restaurant after chemo. And he'd say, but aren't you feeling sick? No, I want to go to that restaurant. So I would pick a restaurant. And I would go to this restaurant and I would order food. And I would try to eat that food in between running to the public facility, which was not a great idea. But I would trot off there and be sick and come back. But I think what I'm saying is don't go embrace this patient role with fervor and say, I'm sick and I need to go home and sleep.
Yes, fight it. It's all about fighting it. Yes.
Yeah, some days you can't. Some days you can't. And I think when you can't, allow yourself to have a good old cry.
Yes. It's all about just having a positive mindset and you'll get through it.
Exactly. And I think the last most important thing is, what do you do with after your cancer? You know, how do you live your life? And I think one of the things is, you know, this opportunity you've given me, it just fills my heart with so much joy, because in sharing this, it's helping someone like those who went before me, the advice and, you know, the little things they said to me that helped me. And I think that's what you can do to make sense of the senseless, is to help others on their journey.
I so believe that. And also for you, it's a kind of fulfillment because you want to share your journey and you want to help others as well in the process.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We're going to get back to you a bit later on. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and sharing your journey. We so appreciate that. We're going to move across to Joe Wiehler, who is in Italy. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Shamila. How you doing? And I apologize to everybody. I've lost my voice, so I sound like a grandma. Honk, honk.
You sound beautiful. It suits you, actually.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I feel like I'm barely able to talk, but it's okay. We're going to do it with a smile, right? So I am excited to be here, and thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. We can hear you loud and clear. You look absolutely stunning. And please, Joe, I know you. You're my sister from another mother. Or a South African living in Italy, just like me, a South African living in Cambodia. You know, we just around the world.
I know.
How amazing that we can connect. Joe, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then we can go into the chat.
Sure. Okay. I am Jo Wiehler, originally from Durban, South Africa. We moved when I was a child, immigrated to Canada and the United States. I owned a cleaning company in Vancouver, Canada. It's called Sparkly Clean. And now I'm the owner of La Bella Sabionita, which is a retreat and a coaching center for coaches from around the world. We've yet to open. We've had some glitches, but soon, as soon as we can. So I'm also the owner and inventor of La Bella Products, which is a wine label. We have our own wine label, and an author in a few books and a speaker. So yeah, so it's, and thank you for having me here. Just to everybody out there who's listening, this is a really hard subject to talk about. It's not easy, and sometimes you relive, some of the painful things that you try to not think about anymore. But it's also so important that we all get the word out, because what they say, what I say, what somebody says might inspire somebody else or help somebody else to go, wait a minute, something's not right with my body. So what you're doing, Shamila, is so important. And Sharon, that was such an incredible talk. I think you covered all of my points too. So good night, everybody.
No, we need you here. We need you here. Everybody has different journeys.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yes. Yes. So,
We love you so much, Jo.
I love
Jo, please tell us a little bit about your diagnosis. How old were you when, and how did it happen? How did you find out? Just tell us a little bit about it.
I was living in Surrey, BC at the time, and similar to Sharon, I had 2 years before I had a really good friend pass away of breast cancer, and I felt powerless. I felt like I've got to do something. And with my cleaning company, we would do a Mother's Day luncheon. And then I had another really close friend pass away she ended up having brain cancer, and it was very sudden, and it was really hard for me. So we were doing a breast cancer fundraiser, and I had, at that January, I'm the Energizer Bunny. I make toddlers look like they're tired. I have more energy than I know what to do with. I'm always healthy. I'm always up. I'm always energetic, and something just wasn't feeling right in my body. I went from being very healthy and very energetic to having no energy, to I felt these burning lumps in my chest, and I could literally put my fingers around my lumps. I actually had breast cancer on both sides. So my lumps were the size of mandarin oranges, and I could literally put my fingers around it and hold it. And I remember just feeling off, that something wasn't right. Something wasn't right. And it was my inner self that just, it was off kilter. It just, there was something that just didn't feel right about me. And this is one of the most important things I really want everybody to understand is it is your body. If the doctor says, oh no, it's nothing, oh no, it's nothing, persist, 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 because so many times it will get brushed under the carpet. I was 38 or 39 years old. And I was told I was too young to have cancer. My original family doctor ignored all the symptoms. She told me I was too young. I didn't have cancer in my family. She told me that. And I said, no, I do have cancer in my family. I've had a lot of history of cancer in my family. And it all boiled down to, you're too young, you're too this. I was misdiagnosed for 5 months. And she had me going to different tests. And I finally, my dad took me to his family doctor, and his family doctor immediately sent me to a breast cancer specialist, who immediately then sent me to a specialist who only did breast, excuse me, who only did breast cancer. And I had stage 4 on both sides. I had a very big lumps. They were fast growing. And I ended up starting a natural chemo before they put me on the chemo. So I did the natural chemo, which every single time I did that one, we racked up 4 credit cards, within like 4 or 5 treatments. And then I was finally diagnosed. So by the time we were doing the Mother's Day luncheon for my company, I had found out I was on my way to go clean a house the day before. So the luncheon was on a Saturday and it was Friday, and I was wrapping up my day early because I had so much to do for this luncheon. I was going to be speaking at it. And my doctor called me and I was on my way to my last clean. And she said, "You need to come in and see me." And I said, "Oh, okay, I'll come Monday." She goes, "Now." And it was the tone of her voice that was very scary to me. So it was a different doctor. So I canceled my clean and I went in there, and I was by myself. And she told me, she said, she goes, "I want you to know that tests have come back from all the mile markers that we did, and you have, stage 4 cancer," which was a very hard lump to hear. So the only people that knew at that point was my father, my daughter, and my friend Judy. And the next day we did the Mother's Day luncheon for breast cancer. And it was really, really hard to get up there and talk about breast cancer. And it became personal. It wasn't just, "Oh, I got to do something about it. Oh, I have to." It became extremely, and exactly what Sharon says is you don't really have that comprehension until you actually walk in that path, and and have compassion for somebody without having cancer, and then going through cancer. And you've got, all of this. You're now living this, you're now walking this is now your experience. You're not just hearing of a friend. It becomes different. And so we did the Mother's Day luncheon, and so I had my treatment in Canada. Canada, what they do is, I was going to a new hospital, so I was going to the Abbotsford Hospital, and they are licensed to pre-treat before they do surgery, and that's what they do until they can get you into a surgery date, because it is socialized medicine in Canada. The good thing about that is I didn't have any hospital bills at all. So once I went, and went through my doctor, I had 0 hospital bills. So I know everybody's going to run to Canada now. Don't don't do that. But yeah, I know it was that. But and I'm so grateful for that, because I did not have an easy battle with cancer. I went through about 8 months of chemotherapy. I would have a surgery scheduled, and then for whatever reason it would be canceled, postponed. So they would just keep putting me back into another round of chemo. I waited until my daughter left to go for her visit with her father, and my hair was starting to fall out. That, I think, as a woman, and probably as a man, but more so as a woman, because our self-esteem comes from, and it shouldn't, but it comes from our appearance, our hair, our face, our makeup. And my hair was falling out by the handfuls. And so when my daughter left to do her summer visit with her father, that's when I agreed to shave my head. And because it was just, I didn't want to go bald on my own. So, and the chemo drugs were really, really strong. I was, because, also with the redhead, there is a medical thing that you have to be 4 times more medicated for things to work. And so they would give me higher doses of the chemo because things weren't working with me. And so when my daughter left, we had a shave-a-thon, and people across America and Canada and friends that I knew all agreed to pay $25 to their local cancer agency to, what they would have paid for a haircut. I ended up going into surgery. I had a double mastectomy, complete bilateral mastectomy on both sides. My cancer because my diagnosis had been misdiagnosed for so long, my cancer was spreading to my muscles and my lymph nodes. And so they removed all the muscle on my chest, and they removed all my lymph nodes on my arms and breast tissue. So everything was removed. And then I had implants put it in. So like Sharon said, the implants are great. They don't go down. They just stay up. They're perky all the time. They don't bounce when you run. Everything else bounces, but they just stay where they're supposed to stay. And for me, I remember going in to see the plastic surgeon, because how they do it in Canada is when they remove the cancer, they do the implant rebuild, and stretchers as well. So you have two surgeries at once. So when I went in for my surgery, it was a very long day. It was, like 4 hours for my breast cancer, and then a couple of hours for the implants and the stretchers to go and the ports to be put in my body. And I remember meeting my plastic surgeon, and how I chose to battle cancer was to be brutally honest with myself and to go in it with a sense of humor. And so when I went to go meet my plastic surgeon, he comes in with his clipboard and his pencil pocket protector and white jacket, glasses down his nose. And he looks at me, and I'm sitting in the waiting room in that paper nightgown type thing gown. And he goes, okay, open up the gown. Let's have a look at them. And my brain just automatically said, usually there's dinner or kissing or dancing before anything like that happens. And he snaps his head up. There will be no dancing. There will be no kissing. This is like a medical thing. And I said, whoa, I know I'm just a stranger here, and you're asking me to open up and show you my girls, show you everything about me. So that became the pattern for every time I would have surgeries. So like I said, I did not have an easy round in it. I actually ended up having a total of 28 major surgeries for the rebuild, because my body would reject the implants.
28?
Or they would reject
28?
28, yeah, total.
Oh my
and
God.
that's not including the minor surgery. Yeah, total. So I had my muscle cut into over and over and over again. They would rip out of my body. They would get infected. But a lot of it was my fault too, is because when the doctors say rest and you're go, Energizer Bunny, and you're still trying to be that, and you still think, no, I have to still be this. And you're still go, no, I can do it. I would just keep going instead of stopping, because I was at the mindset that if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. I'm just going to get it done. And so they would fail in my body. And so it got to the point. So I would have so many surgeries. I had 28 surgeries in total, and it ended up being a 2-year span. So I didn't get done with mine. I went in for my first surgery in finally April of 2010. And or is that right? Yeah, 2010. I had my first surgery, April 2010. And then my last surgery was in 2012 and 2012. And because I had so many rebuilds, so many failures, so my body rejected, quite a lot. And it was not compatible with that. So I would go into my surgeries, and I did it with a sense of humor. So I would put stickers on my chest, smiley face stickers. I would put, X marks the spot, cut here for treasure, and, and anything I could do. So my doctor said they would open my gown in surgery and just laugh, because they're like, we didn't know what you would do. Sometimes I would put hi, eyes are up here, don't look at my chest anymore. And so when I would go through my chemo appointments, I chose on purpose to brighten everybody's day. When I would go in for my chemo appointments, I chose to be a light, even though I wanted to vomit next to them. I chose to, for myself, because for myself, that was my beacon. That was my horizon. That was, in my mind, I said, I may have cancer, but it doesn't have me. And I refuse to be called a cancer survivor. I told everybody I'm a champion. I'm not, to me, survivor is, Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway, where he's holding on to that volleyball and he's just so desperate. And I'm like, I am not desperate. I'm funny. I'm sexy. I'm vibrant. I'm still alive. Probably one of the hardest things for me was when I would go places and you would hear the whispers before, or the whispers after I walked past, well, she has cancer. Did you know she has cancer? Those aren't her real boobs. This is that. And I know people didn't do it to hurt your feelings, but it hurts because you stop being a person and you become a cancer. And there's that other fight to still maintain who you are. And people would see me laughing and go, oh, you can't laugh, you've got cancer. I'm like, I'm still the same person. I'm still the same goofball that you've known before, and it was actually such a shield of how I chose to deal with it with me and my daughter. And one of the funny things that we did, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but it was funny. We were planning a funeral for me because we didn't know. So we were planning and we're like, okay, everybody gets a goodie bag and it's going to be a pop-up coffin and glitter's going to come out and all of these things. So we had to try find the bright side of what wasn't a bright side. And like Sharon said, this has actually become a gift and a blessing, that it really makes you slow down. It really makes you appreciate other people more. It really makes you appreciate that you woke up and that you're here and that you can be here. And it makes you appreciate the little things, the flowers, the breeze on your face, the candy bar, it makes you appreciate that you're still alive and that you have so much life. And for me, there are some hard things, with it. I was violently ill. I after my surgeries, I would do what Sharon did, and I would say, okay, let's go to McDonald's, let's go here, let's go there, and when I'd come out of recovery, I would just eat, knowing I was going to be in the back seat. But I had to, because I just wanted to still feel normal. The other thing was when I was going through my journey, I met a woman who had gone through, unfortunately, breast cancer 4 times. And she chose not to remove her breast. So she would have a lumpectomy, every single time, to the point where she actually did end up having a double mastectomy. But she said, if you eat a banana before you go to chemo, and if you drink hot Jello water, which is, those Jello packets, flavored Jello, like strawberry banana, or I don't know if they have them in South Africa, but you mix it with 32 ounces of hot water and until the gelatin dissolves, and you drink it. And it actually coats your throat. I don't know if this is proven medically, but for me, it really helped. It coats your throat, and it makes it so that when you do throw up, you don't have as much acid in your acid reflux in that. So it's just, just little things like that. I had a bad experience at school. I had lost all my hair, and I'm kind of a rebel. So I had a handkerchief with a skull on it around my head, and I had just dropped off my daughter for school. And one of the mothers came to me and was really angry. I was driving, and she came to me and she's pounding on my window and she goes, what kind of a mother are you? And how dare you bring this gang stuff to school and everything? And how dare you, show up with a skull and bald and shave your head? You're not fit to be a mother. And it really hurt me. And she's like, what do you have to say for yourself? And all I could think of to say, and I started crying, was, it's called breast cancer. I didn't choose this, but thank you. And so I think, if we can be kinder to people, because we don't know.
How did she react when you said that?
I mean, her eyes went as big as dinner plates. And for the rest of the school year, she tried to, Miss Wiehler. And it was one of those people that I just could not speak to again. And that's probably really bad, but it was so hurtful at a time where I was really at my lowest. And, and I chose to do other things. We made sure that we were doing things for breast cancer, that we were doing fundraisers, that, when they said that I probably wouldn't make it to my 40th birthday, my birthday's in December. So I threw myself a huge, birthday party, 20 for the second time, come join us. And it was like, okay, if I can get to December, if I can get to this, if I can get to that. And, and it was learning to be more compassionate and more kind to myself as well as to other people. And there were many days that I'd go to chemo and we would just grab hands and we just hold hands with the person next to you, because it is such a hard battle. And it's, I would go for the drip and it would be about 4 to 5 hours for the drip. And sometimes you didn't know the person, but you lent them your strength, they lent you their strength, right? And that I had a really good network of people. My sister started doing the breast cancer walk, which they do every year. And they've done, just crazy things. They do the walk in Utah. I've had friends donate every year when they cut their hair. The money goes to breast cancer funds or cancer fundraisers. We every year consecutively, we've done breast cancer fundraisers. And the last one we did as an owner of my company, we were able to earn about $40,000 with the fundraiser, with the things we did. It was really impactful, and it's taught me to be kinder. It's taught me to really just love people more and on a deeper level, because like Sharon said, you don't know, you will never, even though I've gone through this, I will never know exactly what Sharon went through. She'll never know exactly. We have a common ground, but we don't know exactly. And it makes you realize that you can love deeper, and that you can love more, and to be more generous, more kind, and and that you celebrate the little things. One of the things that after I had my double mastectomy and finally got the bandages off 2 years later, a lot of that is my own stubbornness, because I didn't stop. I still tried to be the Wonder Woman. And finally, my doctor had to say, nothing. You can't do anything for 12 weeks. Don't look at magazines. Don't hold anything. Don't do dishes. Don't fold laundry. I would lay in my bed and fold laundry on my chest, because it was just, I couldn't not do something. And it was like, I don't want you to do anything. And when my bandages finally came off, it is a very painful moment in my life, but I like to share this moment because it is really hard. And I know that there are other people that have gone through similar things. And sometimes we have no outlet. Maybe nobody else feels this way. But I remember when the nurse would come in, and I had drains all over my body, and the nurse came in and said, okay, we can remove the bandages. And I remember we removed the bandages, and I sat on my bathroom floor for 3 or 4 hours in tears and just cried, because I felt so ugly and disfigured, because what used to be a beautiful chest has now, scars all over, right? I mean, the scars have healed. They're very sexy. I call them my pirate scars now. But at the time, it was very hard to see, and knowing that I was still going through the stretching process for the implants, and this was my last chance. But I was sitting in my bathroom and I was in tears, and the kind nurse came in and she just hugged me and said, it's okay. It's okay. And she goes, you don't look like how you did. And you maybe can't do what you used to do. And your new normal is a new normal. And that's okay. But the most important thing is that you're here. It's just a body. These body parts you're getting, and it was those kind words that let me know that, even though my body was different, I fought so hard to be here. They fought so hard to keep me here. The Lord, there by the grace of God go I. So I'm really only here because, God's allowing. I think he's like, oh, listen, if we take her back, she's going to run the show. It'll be, instead of creation in 7 days, she'll get it done in a day and a half. And I think he's scared I'm going to take over. So he's like, heal her, get her better. What? We don't. But it was those words from the nurse that just said, it's okay. It's normal. And that was the most powerful message that I got from my breast cancer journey, is that I don't have to be the Jo Wiehler that I was 5 years ago. I don't have to be the Jo Wiehler that I was at 16 or, 30 or 40. I'm Jo Wiehler. I'm a beautiful woman. And I think it's also really important for especially women, men as well, but women especially, to know that you're still beautiful, that it doesn't take anything away from that. You are still beautiful. And, these prosthetics, doesn't take away from you as a woman. You still can be sexy and beautiful and full of love, and you can still be loved. You can still be asked out on dates. You can still, celebrate yourself. You can still, do all of those things. It's just sometimes, you have to listen to your body, and your body says, slow down. Sometimes, and for me, I have Becker implants in, and so they are the ones with the metal mesh inside. And sometimes my chest just swells, and I just have to learn to stop. And that's the day that I have in bed. And I just don't do anything else. I cancel everything for the day, and I just go, okay, body, what are we going to do? Pinterest for like 12 hours? Let's go. Let's do Pinterest for, all right. Right. And that it's been a good reminder to me to stop and take care of myself as well. And to have the moments where I'm not just running 24/7, because I would just go nonstop. And, then with me, my cancer came back almost 5 years to the day. So in 2015, I actually ended up getting different cancers in different parts of my body, but very aggressive ones at the same time. And I remember going through a week of hell where I was called into my doctor, and she said, you have this kind. And then the next day I was called back and said, and you have this kind, and you have this kind, and you have this kind. So I ended up getting quite a lot of cancers, and truly, I'm going to knock on wood really quick.
So what happened?
I ended up getting lung cancer, colon cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian, and uterus.
Oh my gosh, Joe.
Yeah. And
did you have treatment?
I had actually had a total hysterectomy. I had 6 inches removed. 6 months later, I had to have another 6 inches removed, and was told if any more is removed, then I have to carry around the bag for the rest of my life, which luckily, no. I still have a little bit of lung cancer, but it's in a spot where it can't be treated because of all the equipment that I have sewn into my body. When they removed my muscle, that's as thick as a T-bone steak in their chest. So what they've done with me is mine is like a small fillet that's been pounded and opened and cut into many, many, many times because of the failures. And so my implants are actually sewn to my ribs and inside my body, or sewn inside me, because otherwise they would fail. So where it is right now, I don't give it any power in my lung. It is in a place where it's the most dangerous place to operate and treat. And because of all my hardware, I had to sign a medical release form that knowing that it's in the best and the worst place. So it's where the aorta and the lung meet together. All my other cancers have been gone, and luckily gone. But this one is just laying dormant. And it's, yeah. And they just said if we were to operate, we would basically have to have a respiratory specialist, lung specialist, a plastic surgeon, a heart surgeon, and a lung cancer specialist. And the fact that I have Becker implants with the metal cage would mean that they would have to stop my heart and then resuscitate me afterwards. So me or the person with the paddles would be electrocuted at that time. So they just said, we're not willing to risk our staff. And so I do have that. And I just go, okay, God, let me just keep going, let me not. So on your show is when I speak about it. I don't speak about it. I don't speak about it at all. I don't, it's, one of those things that I live with, and I just have to go, okay, Lord, we're still up. We woke up today. Eyes are open. Let's roll. Let's do this thing.
Yes. Well, we're all praying for you, Joe. You're one strong woman. And I so appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your stories with us. It's going to help a lot of people. I think, at the time when you go through all of this, you're under so much of stress and trauma. But now you can laugh about it because you've kicked cancer in its butt.
That's right. We kicked it in I don't want to say that I did my part. I did what I was supposed to, but ultimately God holds, everybody's life in his hand. And when it's our time, it will be our time. And when it's not, it's not. And if we can, rise another day, then we rise another day. And I think with that, it makes you like Sharon says, you can't take it too many pictures of a sunset. It's a gift to go, wow, today is history, tomorrow's a mystery. but today is a gift. And that's why they call it the present.
Yes.
And we don't give power to things that we don't want. I don't really ever speak about that. I just say, Joe, you can do this, come on. And I learned to, a nurse taught me this, but I learned to talk to myself as my body and my spirit. And I learned to say, we can do this. We can do strong things. We can do scary things. And, when you talk to yourself in the mirror, you have to be able to say, this sucks right now going through this, but you have to be able to look yourself in the eye and go, we can do this. And it makes you more compassionate to the next person. It makes you, want to do whatever you can to help in any way that you can to serve another person, especially when you hear what they're going through. And, ultimately all of our lives are in the Lord's hands, and there, by the grace of God, go all of us, right? We never know when our time is up. So it is a good reminder to be kind and to be loving and to, celebrate every little victory, every little day, and, be kinder, I think.
Yes.
So.
For sure. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much
You're
for sharing your journey and your stories with us. And we so appreciate
Thank
you. I'm going to get back to you shortly.
No worries. I'm going to turn off. Thank you for having me. And if I can just say one more thing,
Yes.
Please, if you feel that your body is not okay, you know your body better than a doctor who sees you for 15 minutes. And if they don't want to listen to you, do not be afraid to go to another doctor, because it's your body, it's not their body. So with that, good luck, everybody. And I love you. And thank you, Shamila. You're the best. I love you.
Thank you, Joe. I love you too. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing that tip. We so often just ignore every little, if we come across something in our bodies that's not right, we think it's going to get better in a few days or a few months, and then nothing happens and we ignore it. So I think this is a learning curve for everyone. You just don't ignore certain differences or strange things happening to your body. Rather go and check it out. And like Joe says, if you go to your regular doctor and nothing's being done, then try somebody else. Go for a second opinion. It is so important. We have this one life. Let us look after this life. So I'm going to cross over to our next guest today, Kammy Thambirayan. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Kammy. Please pardon me if I'm not. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Shamila. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Kammy, you also had such an experience with cancer and, in your early 30s as well. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and take us through your journey.
Okay. Yes, thanks for having me on the show. And Joe and Sharon, truly your story was very, very inspiring. And I could totally relate. But also, just listening to you guys, just trying to think back, I wish I could hear you guys at the time that I was actually going through this, because these are the kind of talk shows that actually gets you through these kind of situations. But yes, I'm now 44 years old. I have 2 kids. My son is 12 and my daughter is now 14. And I work for the multi industry and I've been in the industry for over 25 years. And when I was 36 years old, my kids, it was actually January 2015. And I just went for a regular gynae checkup. And during the checkup, the gynae was doing his routine checks when he noticed a lump under my left arm. And he wasn't too happy about it. And he decided that he would want more tests done. So it was a Friday afternoon, I quite remember. And when he said, you know what, can I admit you, we can do the test over the weekend and have results as quick as possible. And I totally agreed. And by Monday morning, I had already gone for a biopsy on the mass on my left side. And by Wednesday, the following week, we were called in by the doctor again to let us know that the lump was actually malignant. So it happened all so fast. It's nothing that I actually expected. It's like within a space of 4 days, your whole life changed right in front of you. And my kids back then were 4 years and 6 years old. So it really, really took a toll on me because I didn't know what to expect. There's no signs of breast cancer in my family. And yeah, it really took us by shock. So the journey from there started, with healing for 6 weeks because I had to go for an op. I had a mastectomy done. It was scheduled so quick, within another 3 days. The surgeon got involved, and luckily, in my case, that we did act fast because the following Monday, when I did go for the op, we had eventually found out during the op that there were multiple masses, one behind the other. And so by the following Wednesday, I was back home, and within 6 weeks, I had to visit the oncologist. And on my first visit to the oncologist, she ran me through the whole process all over again and reminded me of exactly what had happened over the last 6 weeks. And she mentioned that I was diagnosed with 4th stage breast cancer. She had said that there was multiple masses, and it also affected the lymph nodes underneath my arm. So 36 of the lymph nodes were actually infected and had to be removed. And 36 lymph nodes, yes.
Oh my gosh.
And the thing is, Shamila, even before I could even go to the gynae, I never ever expected that. There was a little bit of pain on the left side. Didn't think much of it. It was a small lump, but it would come and go, and I wouldn't think much of it. And there was no urgency. And something that we women just put off because we've got other more important things to do, like kids and home and all the other duties that come in between, and we neglect ourselves. And that is where I failed myself in checking these kind of things. And I didn't realize the extent of what I was going through until it was related to me 6 weeks after the op. So when the oncologist actually went over the whole thing with my husband and myself, I was quite shocked, that I've actually had cancer and I didn't even know about it. Mm-hmm. So yes, and the process began where I had 8 months of chemotherapy. I'd lost all my hair. I actually had pin straight long hair. You can see my hair now, curly, and it grew back. I had 8 months of chemotherapy. I was actually on the most highest form of chemo because I was so at high risk. The oncologist actually, thinking about my age and looking at my 2 small kids, she actually took to me, and felt sorry for me in some way and decided, she's going to go all out to help me and to overcome this. And yeah, I had chemo, 8 months of chemo. I had another 1 month of radiation. There were issues. Sharon was talking about medical aid, and we had medical aid issues. Financial issues came in between. But I made it through that. And yeah, chemotherapy. Eventually, it's now 8 years later, and I still do my regular checkups, and I still go for my yearly scans. And all glory to God that it's actually been in remission and everything has been clear. But with that being said, the journey going through all of that just takes a toll on you stressfully, with other issues in between. And listening to platforms like this and listening to other people that have other women that have gone through stuff like this, just encourages you, because during this time of going through, of receiving this news and knowing that your future, is unpredicted, the fear that comes into you of what tomorrow might hold, that you might not be there for your kids, how would, things move on without you, the fear that grips you, it just takes a toll on your health, and other issues come in between. During the time of me having chemo, it wasn't easy because chemo because it was the highest form of chemo that was administered to me. The chemo was actually burning my veins. Chemo, as we know, is a poison, so it was actually killing me from the inside, and it was burning out my veins. You could actually see it on the outer side of my skin. It was burning holes on the outer side of my skin. That's how bad it was. Eventually, they had to stop feeding me chemo through a drip. I had to have a titanium port put it to my chest, and chemo had to be administered through the port. And yeah, so these are things that I had to go through, and it was never easy. There were times that I got home from chemo and I could hardly pick my head up from the pillow, and my kids were small and they would want to play and just get my attention, and I couldn't do those things. So it's not an easy journey at all. It's not an easy journey, but listening to platforms like this and listening to other women that have gone through this, even if somebody is going through it now, the message out there is that there's hope.
Yes.
That there's hope. And if we can keep encouraging people, even the young women out there, if we can keep encouraging them, go do your regular checkups. And I was the type of person that kids must be in bed by 8. Everything must be done by the book. I was so into my routine life that I actually forgot to live, and enjoy every day. And when I lay on the bed and I couldn't even pick up my hand or had no strength to do anything for myself, it made me realize, I've just wasted my life, because I've been so into this routine of everyday living that I actually never really lived. And since being diagnosed, I wasn't even the type of person that would celebrate my birthday, because to me, it wasn't, I would celebrate everyone else's birthday, but to celebrate my own wasn't an important event. But I realized that every day is important. I realized that look forward to your birthday, celebrate yourself in so many ways, Everything doesn't need to be done by the book. Live your life. And so chemotherapy and radiation was over, and I started to still go for my regular checkups. I'm still, at the moment, it's 8 years later, and I still do go for my regular checkups. And all glory to God that it has been in remission, and I've been in good health and in good spirits since then.
Wow, that's awesome. So how has your life changed since your treatment?
Since the treatment, my health has deteriorated, I must say, because during chemo, as we all know, is a poison, and it just depleted everything inside of you. Your immune system is non-existent, and you have to adjust to everything. We tell young men and women these days, stay healthy, eat healthy, exercise, do those things. Yes, I'm guilty of it also, because back in the days, if anyone told me that, I'd not do it either. But those things are so important. And it's only now, going through this phase in my life, that I realize how important being healthy is, staying healthy, exercising, eating properly. And during the time that I had chemo, my immune system was at its lowest, and I had to eat everything and drink everything that I never ever had before, because my iron levels were totally depleted. And they said that I had to have a certain type of ox liver, and I've never eaten those things. I had to have proper vegetables and fruits and vitamins, and I had to take that. Every time I looked at my kids, I said, I have to live. I have to live. I have to do whatever it takes. And at the age of 36, I had to start exercising. I had to start eating healthy. I had to try and pick myself up, just so that I can get ahead and beat this thing. And yes, as I said, my hair grew back, and my hair grew back curly. I had pin straight hair. Life has changed for me,
so
because
beautiful.
overall, the chemo has damaged my skin. I'm still trying to get some of the marks out after 8 years. So there's certain things that you gotta just live with and overcome. There's challenges, you know. And yes, when people look at you, they know that you've had cancer, and some people will label you. But you know what? To me, I'm an overcomer. To me, I'm a warrior. To me, the experience has taught me a lot. And yes, I have no regrets, you know, going through that, because it has changed my outlook on life. It has changed my perspective of how to live as a woman, especially. And my health, I've actually put on weight. I was always a size 32. I'm now size 38. Obviously, chemo and the follow-up treatments, which is steroids and stuff, that actually blows you up. But I'm still adjusting. But I've overcome. That's the most important thing. And you know, I can use my experience most boldly to encourage every other woman out there.
Wow, thank you, Cami. And you look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you very much, Shamila. Thank you.
You know, I think we must ignore people that are judgmental. And I'll give you a good example. You know, some people would think I use a lot of makeup, but I have reasons for using makeup because I have a skin problem. I have a pigmentation problem, which I've had for years. I've spent thousands of rands or dollars trying to sort my skin out. And there's a reason why I use makeup. So people can be judgmental. We need to ignore them, believe in ourselves, believe that we are beautiful. And if we want to do things to make ourselves comfortable and look good and feel good, then by all means, go ahead and do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So just don't worry about people. You've learned, you know, from your experience that you've got to eat healthily, you've got to exercise. And I'm sure you're practicing that in your household with your kids as well, because you have to instill all of this from a young age, because you know what you've been through and you know what would have caused this, you know, the lack of XYZ. So it's all learning curves for everyone. And I so appreciate people like you coming onto the show and sharing this, because it's so insightful for everyone. And like you said, you know, with people that have been through this journey, people that are going through this journey, and people that would possibly go through this journey, because cancer is here, you know, it's rife, it's here, it's affecting people. We never know who is going to affect next. So this is all just so insightful and such valuable information that we can now say we have cancer warriors, we have cancer champions, like Joe says, and we need to share these stories with the rest of the world. We need to share this with people, because right now at this moment, you have no idea who is going through this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much, Kammy. Thank you for coming on board and sharing your journey with us. But please stay right where you are. I'm going to get back to you. I have one more guest and then we'll close up.
Thanks, Shamila.
Thank you. Our next guest is Fabian Adonis. And, you know, we would say that cancer, breast cancer is a woman thing, but Fabian is a man. And, you know, the common signs and symptoms of male breast cancer can include a painless lump or thickening in your breast tissue, changes to the skin covering your breast, such as dimpling, puckering, redness, or scaling, changes to your nipple, such as redness or scaling, or a nipple that begins to turn inward, discharge from your nipple, and the source is from the internet. Welcome, Fabian. How are you? Fabian, are you here? Can't see him. Fabian, are you with us? Okay, we're going to just give him some time. I do know he did mention that he's going to be a bit late because he had to go to church, but we will get back to him as soon as he joins us. So, you know, there are various steps every person can take to help the body stay as healthy as possible, such as, like Kammy says, you know, eating a balanced diet, maintaining a healthy weight, not smoking, limiting alcohol, and exercising regularly. Although these steps may have some effect on your risk of getting breast cancer, they cannot eliminate the risk. And we must understand that in most cases is genetic. You know, if we look at stage 0, the survival rate is 100%. The stage 1 survival rate is 98%. Stage 2 survival rate is 93%. Stage 3, the survival rate is 72%. And stage 4, the survival rate is 28%. So I just want to check again. Fabian, are you with us? Fabian, are you with us? Okay, he is still not with us. Okay, I'm going to go around and I'm going to start with Sharon. Sharon, please, can you share an empowering thought that our listeners can take away today?
Thank you, Shamila. Thanks for giving me the platform again. I just want to first thank our fellow panelists and yourself as well. It is incredibly powerful listening to everybody and incredibly humbling. And every time you listen to someone's story, you grow a little bit. And I feel that today very much so on this platform of yours. In terms of empowering thoughts, I did allude to it a little bit earlier when I spoke about the fact that how do you take the senseless journey? If you look at Cammy's story, you look at Joe's story, it just is so incredibly unfair on so many levels. You might argue, how do you take that and make sense of it? And I was once invited to talk on this, and Shamila, is everything all right?
Yes, I have no idea why it stopped recording, but we're still live, so it's fine. Don't worry. We will get a recording from that. Yes.
Okay. And in thinking about how to approach this so someone else grows from it, even if they've not been on this journey. And I think the phrase that I coined was turning pain into purpose, because your pain is such an unfair, senseless thing. The only thing that you can find is, how can I use it to empower somebody else? And if you take the fundamental principles of a cancer journey, it could be applied to any other trauma, any other illness, any other loss or bereavement. And the fundamental principles, if you as a person that's been on this journey, or you've shared it, and if you take someone who needs that support and you share it with them, I think it's a powerful way to give to others, and to give back. And it could be just anybody. You know, if there's time, I can quickly share a story of what happened when. Have we got a moment?
Yes, please go ahead.
So shortly after during my chemo, in fact, it was on the last chemo, the night of the chemo, we were invited to a friend of ours. It was her 50th at a restaurant in Johannesburg. And the morning of chemo, there were these little tendrils of hair left. There was no hair. And my husband looked at me and I said to him, I think I look like Gollum, you know, from Lord of the Rings. And my husband said, you know, why don't I shave it off? And so on the last day of chemo came the acceptance. I accepted the treatment, but I couldn't let go of my hair. And so he shaved it off, and off we went. And that evening we were going to the party. And I put on a wig, then I put on a beret, and I put on everything I could to feel like the person I knew. And off I went to the party. And it began to get progressively hot in the room. So I took off the beret, and then I realized I can't bear this heavy wig. I couldn't deal with this hairpiece. So I said to my husband, I'm just going to duck under the table and remove the wig. And up I popped out with this bald as a baby's bum head now. And I realized, okay, there it is. I'm out there now, no hair. And I needed to go to the bathroom, and you know how we ladies go off in a social little group. Off we trotted to the bathroom. There were 3 of us, and we were standing there. All the stalls were full, and we stood there waiting for a free one. And they were talking about the fact that they said, "Well done that you took off the wig. You know, look at how nice it looks." And we were having this big old chat about it. And I said, "Yeah, actually, it's not bad. I could learn to live with this bald look." And then out came this young lady from one of the stalls. And she stood in front of me and she said, "Did you have cancer?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed, and I had just had my baby, and I've never gone back." And I said to her, if I had worn my wig and come in here, we would have never been having this conversation. The fact that I was bald, the fact that I was outside this bathroom means you've got to do this for you, and you've got to do it for your little baby. You go on Monday, you make that appointment because you can save yourself.
Yes.
And that is what cancer can do. It can give you the capacity to empower someone who might be needy and you don't even know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It brings people
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
Yes. And gives you courage and hope as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience?
I just think that whatever the cross that you bear, whoever you are out there, that how you approach it is important. You don't embrace it and let it overcome you. You embrace it so you can beat it. And it's not easy. Some things are they're so massive and they're so overwhelming that it isn't easy. And then when you feel that way, there are days when we all feel, today is the day. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. I don't have it. And then that's the day you say, okay, who shall I reach out to? And sometimes it doesn't have to be a person. I use 2 beautiful authors, Shamila. The one is Anita Murjani. She wrote the book called Dying to Be Me.
Mhm.
And she wrote the book, she had a near-death experience. And at the point of her death, she had tumors the size of melons. Her organs were shutting down. She was terminal. She was in a wheelchair. Her organs were shutting down. She lost her vision, kidneys failing. And she was wheeled in to die I think it was in Singapore. She's a very well-known author currently. Mm-hmm. And she had this near-death experience and realized she hadn't fulfilled her purpose. And she came back, and within 2 weeks of coming back, in a nutshell, the tumor shrank. She regained use of all her organs. She regained her vision. She went on to write the book called That She Had to Die to Become Herself.
Wow, that is amazing.
So it's called Dying to Be Me by Anita Murjani. I read her a lot. And I also read a few very good authors, Donna Ashworth, a poet, sorry, Donna Ashworth, Rupi Kaur. And I think so sometimes, I think, Joe, I love that you mentioned Louise Hay, Joe. Louise Hay is an amazing inspiration.
Yes.
So when you feel you can't do it, just take that one little deep breath, dig deeper than you've done, and reach out to resources out there, like your show, Shamila, like a person like you, that you do this for us. For the first time, I feel like a lump in my throat.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I really appreciate all of you coming on the show and sharing your journeys. I think it's so important. You know, it's just not women, it's men, it's youth, it's kids that get affected in all of this. And with people like you coming and sharing your journeys on the show, it helps everybody that, like I said, has been through this, is going through this, and will go through this. You know, I would appreciate if people can share this chat with, you know, across platforms and let it go viral, because every little bit of inspiration will help everybody out here. It is an emotional journey, but if you share your story with others, you can impact lives too. Yes, it is so appreciated that you all can come on here and share. It takes a lot of courage, that you've been given hope, you've survived it, you are warriors, you champions, and you've gotten through this. And we trust and pray that everybody else would go through all of this as well. And it won't be a painless journey, but with all the hope and the prayers and the love, we hope it will be a painless journey. But Sharon, I really appreciate you and Joe and Kammy for sharing. It takes a lot to come on the show. You know, I always put out requests for people to come and share, especially when it comes to illnesses and diseases. I think it's so important. Everyone goes through different things. If we look at COVID, it's affected people so differently. Same with breast cancer, listening to all three of you, you all had different experiences. And that helps people, because we never know what people go through. We would never know. And it's also fulfilling your journey in helping others by sharing your story. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, hopefully we can have a chat one-on-one at some point on the show again, and chat a bit more. Kammy, your last words, please.
My last words to every woman out there, especially if you are going through stages of breast cancer or any form of cancer whatsoever, mostly to the people, to the supporters out there, you know, to all the victims, to the warriors. I'd speak out to the family members and the friends, and because the support structure when you're going through something like this is so important. And I remember clearly that when I was had to stay home from work to go through chemotherapy, and my husband still had to go to work. After 2 weeks, he had to go back to work, and the kids had to go back to school, and life had to carry on, you know, despite what I was going through. And because I come from a small family, I just have one brother, and was my mom, because my dad's late, and my mom had to go back to work, and I didn't have that kind of support structure, you know, and it's so easy to succumb to what you're going through because you feel lonely. So yes. My heart would go out to those that are actually going through this, but mostly I would like to speak to those supporters to come out and support the victims and the warriors. Give them the support that they need at that time. Carry them through, you know. Give them hope. Give them hope, because there is hope. And I'm grateful that I had family around. I'm grateful that I had friends around. I'm grateful that I had the people from the church around to keep praying over me and encouraging me and lifting me up, and didn't allow me to succumb to what I was going through and let me feel like I was going to fade away, you know. But I had people around me. So I would speak out to the supporters. Come out and assist, come out and help, whether you know the person or you don't know the person. Help, encourage, do whatever you can. If it means cooking a meal, if it means helping them, you know, in whatever way possible, it will help, because it's something that you look forward to. And I remember looking forward to those kind of things, you know, that hope. And I was slowly going into depression when I was at home. And my husband had to eventually buy me an African grey, a talking bird, so that she could keep me company during the day. And I still have my bird. Her name is Sally, and up till today. And I remember he had to get me something just to keep me going, and during the day when he was not around. And so yes, I would speak to those people out there to come out and assist, come out and encourage, even if it just means making a call, cooking a meal, helping in whatever way you can, because those are the things that's going to help a warrior. And for those of you that are actually going through something like this at the moment, I just want to say that there's hope. that there's hope. Whatever faith you are, I'm of the Christian faith. I go to church and I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I've been praying, and God has seen me through. And I believe that I'm a testimony to his healing virtues in my body. And that's why I give him glory. Even on this platform, I say thank you to the Lord Jesus for having healed me and allowing me the grace, because I live by his grace, and allowing me the grace to continue to live, to see my kids grow. And so all glory to God on that perspective. But to those people that are actually going through this kind of ordeal right now, I want to say that there's hope, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you would just hang on and just keep the faith and just be strong. It's all in the mind. Just stay strong and you will come through to the other side and you will come out stronger.
Yes, thank you so much, Kammy. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming onto the show and sharing your journey with us. Very inspirational, and I'm sure we all learned from it, from all our speakers today. And
Yes.
I wish you the best of luck as well.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you for inspiring everybody. We're going to move over to Joe. Joe, your last words, please. I think Fabian is not going to join us today. I most probably will have him on a different show, one-on-one. So I think we're going to close off with you, Joe.
Well, I just want to echo the same sentiments as Kammy and Sharon, that, thank you for what you're doing, because maybe there's somebody at home that's going, wait a minute, what I felt is not nothing. And so, one of the things that I learned when I was going through my own breast cancer journey is that cancer doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're old or young, male or female, what race or nationality you are. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're Christian or Jewish. It doesn't care. And I would say, be kind to yourself. Be kind and give yourself grace, and just know that it is hard, and you have people around you that love you, and maybe be willing to answer their questions, because I find that the more I was able to talk freely about it, even though it wasn't an easy subject for me, the more people didn't whisper behind my back, and I wasn't just a disease. I was still Joe Wiehler. And I would also say, be kinder with your body, because your body goes through some drastic changes and you can't go back to how you were before. And, like Kammy said, I gained a lot of weight after, my chemo, and I went through a lot of chemo and a lot of aggressive chemo. And it was hard to accept my body afterwards, but it was the nurse's words, that this is your new normal. And I would just say, like you said, be kinder to people. Don't be judgmental. Don't be the person that's on the gossip bandwagon. Be the person that is the first to take a meal, or to be kind, or to do something, for them, for the people. And I would also say, be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to know that some days, if all you can do is stay in that bed, because when you go through chemo, it just got it so hard. There's days that I would go, I had my chemo scheduled in the morning. I would go and do my treatments in the morning so I could sleep until my daughter got home, and I could barely get up. And so give yourself grace if that's what you need to do, and be grateful to the women and the men around you that are willing to be there. I had my daughter was there for me nonstop. My dad was there for me nonstop. Unfortunately, I went through a divorce in the middle of it. It was not a good thing in that regards. But I had friends that came. I had, one friend that would show up at the hospital, with cookies that she bought at a grocery store, saying, I brought you some of my baked goods. And I knew it wasn't. I had people dropping off magazines at my house so I could just look at magazines, and just know that we all go through seasons in our life. And sometimes it's the season to take care of others and to help. And sometimes it's a season to receive. And, I think with the other wonderful ladies, Sharon and Kammy, I love you. And thank you for having the courage today to share something that I know is painful and I know is hard to talk about. And Shamila, thank you for doing this and for helping people to be aware of things that are kind of brushed under the carpet. But thank you so much for the raw, courage to share your stories. And I hope and pray that everybody will share this episode, because I hope this will save somebody's life. And I hope that somebody will go. I was listening to the Red Corner show and heard these 3 women talk. And because of that show, or because of Shamila, I thought maybe I better hightail it to the doctor. And I would say truly to love deeper. Every single one of us are here by grace. And we don't know what somebody else is going through behind their smile. We don't know, if they're ready to burst into tears. We don't know what they've just received. Be kinder to everybody. And Shamila, thank you for being such a warrior in this retrospect, that you are always championing for women and for causes. And I don't think you get enough recognition for the kindness and the love that you do and the selfless service that you give on a daily basis. So I thank you and I applaud you with all my heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Joe. I so appreciate it. I appreciate you 3 ladies coming here and speaking today. I also got a lump in my throat, we feel for others. Joe, Wiehler, Cami, and Sharon, so inspirational. And, I got lots of messages in the chat box as well. From Sheena, thank you, lady. That was from Daksha. Thank you, ladies. Extremely powerful and enlightening chat. Stay strong. From Sheena. Raghubar, thank you, ladies. You are such an inspiration. Love your energy. And then it's Joe telling all you ladies how beautiful you look, and you're such an inspiration. These are the little recognition and accolades that we take with us. We're sharing our journeys. We're going to take this with us forever. You will look at this chat a few years down the line and you'll say, I've been on the Red Corner show and I shared this, and I'm sure I inspired thousands of people across the globe. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate all of you. We do believe that early detection will save your life. So the one advice that I would give to anyone is don't ignore that examination. Please go and check it out. Go for your tests, go for your examinations. It is so important. Together we will rise. This is our time to rise up, and we can do this for ourselves. If any one of you would like to be on the Red Corner Show, please drop me an email, redcornershow@gmail.com, and you too could be inspiring people across the globe. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Shamila.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Kammy.